On today's show,
we could go like
live off the land.
Yes, and we could like crack open coconuts.
I would bring Micah with me because she's a really good bird caller.
I would bring Micah because she's tall, she's super funny, and she could like climb up a tree and like grab fruit or like a coconut or something.
Hopefully you have the Halloween candy ready for the end of the week. The costumes picked out and you're ready to go. We're ready to go for Kansas Sports Chatter. It's another couple episodes coming your way this week. A statewide high school sports entertainment show streaming on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. My name is Cole Reif, and I was always one of those really lazy Halloween costume people. Like when your parents picked you out, you know, your costume was whatever, but then like when you got to the age and you're supposed to, you know, like decide what you wanted and they actually asked you, like I was just lazy. I would just wear jeans, shirt, and then like put on a mask. I think that was like the last few years that I actually went trick-or-treating as a kid. Like I just threw on a mask. Like I was not an overly creative person. We have some creative guests here today. Leo Schoenberger with Baldwin High School. He is going to be our leadoff question response to some Halloween questions. Brent Maycock with KSHSAA Covered. Really impactful and powerful story that Brent wrote about with Nemaha Central. We're going to talk with Brent and with our KSHSAA Covered segment. Kylie Corneliusen, the head coach of the Mill Valley volleyball team, looking for a three-peat this year going to the state tournaments. She'll be our quality time interview. Great Bend volleyball members also going to the state tournaments in Class 5A. They'll have our walkthrough segment where we'll get a bunch of players come on and answer a question. Jeremy Deckard with Prep Dig Kansas will preview some of those state tournaments. Kaden Fields with Emporia State University and at Osawatomie High School will be our next level talents. And then we'll close out the show with a radio highlights from Pat Strathman out of ESPN Wichita. Let's get things rolling with today's leadoff question. It is today's leadoff question with Leo Schoenberger with the Baldwin High School soccer team. Leo, what is your favorite Halloween candy?
My favorite Halloween candy is going to be Twix, for sure.
Has that always been one of your staples? Like, when did it become your favorite?
Yeah, Twix has always been my go-to. I love a good Twix.
So for you as a kid, do you remember anything about trying to get the most candy? Like, what was your strategy trying to get the most candy on Halloween night?
Just running as fast as I can. I think part of my speed comes from Halloween night, trying to get as much candy as I can.
Candy corn. What's your feeling on candy corn? Like or dislike?
I'm not a big fan of the texture of candy corn, but I mean, it tastes all right, so it's not horrible.
Not horrible. All right. Favorite Halloween costume as a kid? Do you remember any of that that stood out?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Batman. I just love having the mask and then the cape. Batman was always my go-to.
How old were you? Do you remember when you had that costume?
Yeah. I was probably about 8, 6. I mean, I probably wore it multiple times for different years, so.
Smart man. Leo, appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
That is Leo Schoenberger with Baldwin High School soccer team and our leadoff question. Thanks once again to Leo Schoenberger with Baldwin High School soccer, also a standout basketball player, but answering our Halloween-themed questions for our leadoff question. Hey, before we take a break, a reminder that the game of the week through KCMC, it's not just one game, it's 2 games this week, as they'll have the Thursday night ball game as the playoffs start in high school football in Kansas, Kiowa County at Kinsley. That'll be this Thursday night at Kinsley High School, kickoff at 7 o'clock. And if one's good, 2's even better. The second game of the week through KCMC Sports will have Concordia going to Cheney on Friday night in their classification. You can watch those ball games on the Huddle page for KCMC or check out the KCMC Facebook page as well for the live stream. When we come back, KSHSAA Covered's Brent Maycock mentioned a really cool story, an impactful story out of Nemaha Central. Brent has that story, and he'll share some of the details that he wrote right after this.
The key to a great game is sportsmanship. It is essential to show respect to your opponents, teammates, coaches, and yourself. Playing hard, being fair, and having fun are what sportsmanship is all about. Whether you win or lose, congratulate your team and opponents for their hard work and dedication. Good sportsmanship is about demonstrating integrity, fairness, and respect. Let's show the world what true sportsmanship is all about this season.
It is story time on Kansas Sports Chatter as we get to be joined by Brent Maycock. He is one of the staff writers for KSHSAA Covered. And Brent, like I would normally ask you, hey, what are you staying busy with? But postseason is in full throttle right now for the fall sports. The winter sports aren't too far around, but are you keeping your head on straight right now?
Yeah, let's not talk about winter sports just yet. Let's get through the fall season. But yeah, just got back from state golf yesterday. I was down in Hutchinson watching Addison Douglas become the 4th girl ever in state history to win 4 state titles. Saturday I was out at state tennis, and we got state gymnastics coming up this weekend, and then state cross country and volleyball next weekend. So yeah, we're deep into the heart of championship season for the fall sports.
When you go throughout the season, you get so many great stories on, whether it's a recap of a ball game or a game coming up or a player that's, standing out. But you also get some really special features as well. And a big story out of Nemaha Central that you've been covering really well, Brent.
Yeah, it was something that came up. Daniel Childress, a senior offensive lineman and defensive player for Nemaha Central, 2 weeks into the season, after one of the games, he was watching the Chiefs and came up with a big headache. And obviously the Chiefs early in the season, they could give people headaches. And so he really didn't think much about it. And some of the right side of his body had been tingling a little bit, going numb. And he said, that he had experienced that from having some leg issues, some surgeries and stuff on his leg. And so he really didn't think much about it, but that headache and the numbness kept persisting. So they went to see the doctor, emergency room up in Nemaha or in Seneca. And they said, hey, we need to send you to Children's Mercy. And he got diagnosed with brain cancer. Basically, they found a tumor on his brain. And so, they told him there at Children's Mercy that it was inoperable, because of the location of it so close to the brain stem and everything. But the Childress family wasn't going to take that as the final diagnosis, and they started reaching out, and they found a doctor down at St. Jude's Hospital in Memphis, a great children's hospital, who was willing to do the surgery. And so there's another adjoining hospital that kind of deals with that, Le Bonhomme, down there. And so they went down there, and he had brain surgery, and that would have been let's see, what day I think was that, like October 7th or something like that. Okay. So, he had brain surgery, and the crazy thing about it is, you think somebody going through brain surgery, they're going to be in the hospital for an extended time. You don't know what their physical capabilities are, what their mental faculties will be about them. Well, that night he texts his football coach, Michael Glassick, up at Nemaha, and says, hey coach, what's going on? And I talked to Michael, and he was just stunned. He's like, what are you doing? What are you doing texting me? And so they had a little conversation, and then a couple days later he said, Coach, I think I'm going to come back for the Sabetha game. And, it's the biggest rivalry game for Nemaha Central Sabetha. It's just a great rivalry, and so he's like, well, don't tell anybody. And so he told Glatzik, and he told Kelly Williams, the AD up at Nemaha Central, hey, I'm coming back for the game. And then he shows up and goes in the locker room, and of course, all the Nemaha Central kids just go crazy. Glatzik said he's out there talking to the Sabetha coach before the game, and he sees Daniel walk up, and that's just amazing that he's not only talking and walking. I mean, it's just if you didn't notice the scar in his head, you wouldn't have thought anything was wrong with the kid. And so I went up to the Nemaha and Sabetha game. I learned he was going to be there, and thought, this is a chance to really, do a cool story and something that's not just about sports. It's about, human life and the battles that people go through and stuff like that. And so, got a chance to talk with his family, got a chance to talk with Daniel, and it was just so uplifting, him being there. And what's really been uplifting to me is the support from not only the community there in Seneca, but all the surrounding communities that have really poured out, donations and efforts to raise money and help him in his fight. And it's just amazing. Sabetha is one of those programs under Garrett Michael in the past, and now under Caleb Moeller, where faith family football is their big motto, and that's become a big motto across the state. But when I first heard that motto, it was that Sabetha, and they really lived it out. They have that post game huddle, the prayer huddle, and they gave Daniel a football that was signed and had Proverbs 27:17 and iron sharpens iron on it and stuff. And it was great to see two arch rivals come together like that. But then I was down at Council Grove the week before, and they were raising money for him. Holton had a fundraiser. Oskaloosa, Royal Valley raised like over $4,000 at a fundraiser last week. All these surrounding communities. Silver Lake was another one that had one. All these communities, seeing all of them rally around this kid has just been really, really special to see.
That one pulls at the heartstrings for sure. Daniel just seems like a go-getter. Talking to him, could you kind of see that in just his fight?
Yeah, he said, first things first. He says, I have this wrestler mentality, and he said, and even when I go out on my wrestling matches, and obviously he's not wrestling anymore. He said, there wasn't losing, there was always winning and making progress. And if he got beat, he got beat, but he felt he was making progress. And so he said, he kind of applies that to this battle. He said, I just refuse to lose. I'm gonna either win or I'm gonna make progress. And so seeing a kid that's 17, 18 years old have that kind of just determination and what will and all that, because you get a diagnosis of brain cancer, that's a bad gut punch, man. That's something that would be hard to keep your spirits up. Especially if somebody tells you it's inoperable, that your life expectancy when you get that diagnosis is maybe less than a year. And for him to not only say, hey, I'm not going to let this beat me, and then to have all these other communities say, hey, we're not going to let it beat you either. It's just crazy. The fact that you got to sit there and talk to this kid 8 days after he had brain surgery is just blows my mind. It blew my mind. And we got up and after the interview and I went to shake his hand, and he came in for a hug, and I'm like, heck yeah, I'll hug you, buddy. It was just, go get him. And he's got that mentality, and that's just, it's something that people can learn a big lesson from, I think.
Amazing coverage. Brent, appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Sounds good, Cole.
That is Brent Maycock, one of the staff writers for Acacia Cover. That'll do it for Storytime. Here's a hard truth. If your business isn't using AI in its marketing, you've already fallen behind. But there's an advertising agency in Kansas that can get you back up to speed. That agency's name is Meyers Enterprises Media Research. The name sounds dry because the company's run by engineers, not salespeople. They use superior research and analytics that drive results with surgical precision. Marketing doesn't have to be a gritty battle in the trenches. Your business can win from the box. Visit their website, mediaresearch.agency, to learn more. It is our Quality Time interview on Kansas Sports Chatter, an opportunity to spend a little extra time with our next guest, and that guest is Kylie Corneliusen, the head coach of the Mill Valley volleyball team. Hey, Coach, appreciate your time. And for you, like this time of the year, it's got to be exciting, but what's kind of going through your mind at this time of the year as a volleyball coach?
Yeah, this is, what teams prepare for is the end of the season. And, I'm just hoping that my kids show up at the right time. And, you want to be playing your best volleyball at the end of the season. And we know what it takes to get there. And now we just have to execute.
You mentioned playing your best volleyball at this time of the year. Do you feel like you guys have been on that trend throughout the season? Obviously, the record speaks for itself, but do you feel like you've been on that trend?
Yeah, I think, we had a few losses early in the season. And we tried really hard this year to, schedule a tougher opponents. And I think that, we've had a few bumps in the road, but it's about learning from it and, going out and playing your best games at the end of the year.
Is that an easy thing to do, putting that schedule together? Like, what goes into putting that schedule? Obviously, you have some league opponents that make it a little bit easier, but the rest of that schedule, how easy is it trying to fill that out?
It's very stressful, and I think I overthink it a little bit. But yeah, we've struggled in the past couple of years, just filling the schedule. We have a huge league, which we're obviously grateful for, but we have a 14-team league, so that doesn't allow for a ton of games. But then, we've had teams drop us or say that they're not going to play us the following year. So it is challenging, but I'm glad that we picked up the teams we did this year in hopes that it helps prepare us for sub-state and the state tournament.
I want to go way back. I want to pick your brain on that match you played against Piper at the beginning of the season, the outdoor one, the outdoor event. How special is that, and how'd that come together?
Yeah, it was awesome. Talk about a stressful week. It was supposed to rain leading up the week before. And so, yeah, I had a couple parents reach out to me and say, hey, let's do this. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. And so we spent a lot of time in the summer. We had sponsors, we had a ton of helpers. And it was a beautiful night, and we couldn't have asked for a better turnout.
Did you practice at all outdoors, like prior to the actual match?
No, we didn't, because it rained the day before. So we weren't able to get out there. I had the kids come like right after school that day, and we kind of peppered and, didn't do a whole lot, but no, there was no full practice before that. It was just, we're going out and we're playing, and it was awesome. There were so many people there. I know the kids were a little nervous because it was totally new to them. But yeah, it was awesome.
I mean, did you have your same stomping lines like down the sideline? Did anything change like that for you as a coach?
I was trying really hard to, not worry about the things that nobody can control. Like, the weather, is the ball going to, bounce away, or is the net going to stay up? Like all of those things. But, once I saw the first serve, it gave me chills, because it was such an awesome atmosphere.
You look at volleyball for you, Coach. Has volleyball always been in your blood? I know we played in college for a couple of years, but has that always been your main focus sports-wise?
Yeah, I think I come from a super sports-driven family, but yeah, I've played all the sports growing up, and my brother is a sports information director at University of Arkansas, and just everybody, extended family included, it's all about sports. So I knew I wanted to, take my passion of volleyball and do something with it. And yeah, now we're here.
Those 2 years you spent playing at Neosho County, I mean, what was that experience like for you, and what'd you learn in college? It was
awesome. It was probably the 2 hardest years of my life. Nobody prepares you for being in JUCO athletics. But it was awesome. I had amazing coaches, and I learned so much about the game, and, the grind is different at the JUCO level. And so, it was an awesome experience, and I wouldn't trade it for anything.
What was the best road trip in the Jayhawk Conference?
Oh gosh. Well, our rival was Fort Scott up the road, so that was always fun. But yeah, we traveled so many places. I think the one that was the hardest was we went to Highland, which was really far from Neosho. But yeah, I mean, it was awesome, but definitely our trips to Fort Scott because of the rivalry.
After you're done playing at Neosho, like, did you know right away that you wanted to coach at that point, or when did that sink in?
Yeah, I stopped playing and I transferred to K-State, and I was kind of going crazy without, sports being part of my life. And I reached out to a bunch of people in Manhattan, and I was like, hey, do you need any coaches? And then I interviewed at Manhattan High School. And at the time I was a junior in college. So it was kind of, looking back, it was kind of crazy that they hired a 21-year-old to come coach high school volleyball. But it was awesome. And I knew I wanted to be involved in athletics at some capacity in my life.
What was that experience like, being as a young coach? Like the learning curve for you, and like, did you reach out to anybody, or just how did you kind of get that, I guess, experience?
Yeah, I definitely reached out to my college coaches and just people that I knew. I got asked a lot, like, hey, we're ready for the coin flip. Like, where's your coach? I'm like, well, I'm the coach. They're like, no way. And so I got that a lot when I first started. But the kids there were great. And, I miss those kids in Manhattan. But yeah, it was an awesome experience. And I very blessed that I was given that opportunity at such a young age.
Now in your 4th season as a head coach in Mill Valley, what were the expectations when you first arrived 4 years ago for Mill Valley, Coach?
Yeah, I had all of these, I wanted to do I had all these plans and, what I wanted to do with my own program. I didn't really know exactly, what kind of team that we would be. But I know that they had seen success in the previous years. And then, getting in there and having camp and really realizing like, hey, there are some talented kids in this gym. It just made me more excited for the job.
Well, yeah, they always talk about, how experience can pay dividends later on. And for you, like winning the last 2 state championships, how much do you think that prepares not only you, but even some of the players that have returned as well going into the postseason for volleyball this year?
Yeah, I think, for some of our kids and myself included, like having been there before, knowing what to expect. I know the first trip that we went, nobody knew anything. Like I didn't know, all the things that you don't know until you're there. And so I feel like having that in the back of, my head and those of the kids that have been there, like they know what to expect. And I think that's huge because, experience is important, especially when you're in pressure situations.
Well, it seems like the student athletes at Mill Valley are well motivated just within themselves. But as a coach, when you talk about a season that starts, you probably had some contact with them during the summer, and then you guys get rolling in August, and then you go through September and October, and the postseason pushes up to the month of November. Like, how do you keep a full season of motivation throughout the year?
Yeah, it's hard, especially with our league. We play a lot of games, and I kind of tell them that at the beginning of the year, like the season is a grind, but you want to be at the end of the season and you don't want to have regrets. And I think, from my standpoint, like trying to go into every day, being the same and being consistent. That way, the kids know what they're getting from me and just, talking about it like, hey, this week's going to be tough. We have 3 games or whatever it may be. And just kind of, pushing them, but then congratulating them when that week is over, whatever the hard part of the season is, just keeping them motivated and keeping it fresh.
Kylie Corneliusen joining us here, the head coach of the Mill Valley volleyball team. I mean, I'm sure you just love coaching in general, but like Mill Valley, I mean, you guys have produced, some really top-notch talents that have come through that program and now competing at the next level or going to be in the next couple of years. Mm-hmm. As a coach, like what's that experience like when you are coaching, some of those top-tier players? Yeah,
I always tell people all the time, like I'm blessed to be able to coach these, high level kids. And I try really, really hard to not take that for granted. And, I don't want to be out there saying that I'm the reason that they're this successful because I'm not. But yeah, it's been awesome. And like I said, just blessed to be in this position because, those type of kids don't come through the door every year. So just enjoying it with them and, letting them know that I'm grateful for the work that they've put into this program.
Then I guess piggybacking on that, how rewarding is it for you to see those players that have come through the Mill Valley program compete at the next level?
Yeah, it's awesome. Earlier this season, I have Caitlin Burke. She was an outside force a couple years ago, and she's playing at Loyola. And I turned on ESPN, and there she was, and it was so cool. I videoed the game and sent it to a bunch of people, and it's just awesome to see them, not only get to that level, but have success at that high level is just, it's incredible.
What's the intensity level like at this time of the year when you go into the postseason? Not only regional, sub-state, or then you eventually get to the state championship if you're lucky enough. Like, what's that intensity like at this time of the year for volleyball?
Oh, it's crazy, and I will tell anyone this area of the state is the best. The best volleyball is being played in Kansas City, and on the Missouri side. And so it's very intense because you've got to put your best foot forward every day. And that's something that we've talked about this year is, we have to go into games expecting that we're getting their best game that they've played all year because of the success in the past. So yeah, it's a whole nother level of intensity for sure.
All right, last question for you, Coach. In my intense research for this interview, I found an article that said if you weren't going to go into teaching or coaching, that you were thinking about being a sideline reporter for ESPN. So any truth to that, then obviously this coaching has worked out pretty well for you. But if it doesn't, in the future, would you get back to ESPN? That's
so funny. Yeah, that was my dream job growing up. I wanted to be Holly Rowe or Erin Andrews. But yeah, I never, I didn't go that route, but yeah, like I said, I love, anything sports, and yes, there is truth to that. I'm sure I said that somewhere that was my dream job, but it didn't pan out.
Coach, hey, appreciate the time, and best of luck the rest of the season.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
That is Kylie Corneliusen, the head coach of the Mill Valley volleyball team, with our quality time interview. SPX Specialized Video Wall Solutions. Your gym needs SPX. Time now for a newer segment for Kansas Sports Chatter. We're calling it the walkthrough segment. So we get a bunch of players on one particular team, and they respond to one question. So big thanks to Shelly Duvall, the head coach of the Great Bend Lady Panthers volleyball team, as she was able to set this up with members of her team. And the question was simply, if you were stranded on an island, which teammates would you want to be on that island with you? Good responses here from the Great Bend Lady Panthers.
Oh, I'd bring this one right here. We're surviving that. Are you? Oh, yeah. Right, Adeline? Yeah. Climb up trees and get coconuts.
One teammate with you. Who would it be?
Ridley.
We know.
It would definitely be Catherine. Because she's very, I feel like she's very, what's the word then? Anyways, it would be Catherine.
She's intelligent.
She's very smart.
I got this time. Alex, because I just feel like I don't know, I feel like she's intelligent and she would make like the right decisions, but then like keep me up on my feet, you know what I mean?
I would definitely say Catherine because she's super resourceful.
Oh my god,
yeah, I would say Catherine too.
Okay, if I was stranded on an island, can only have one teammate, I'd pick Micah Elgood. I would bring my best friend, Lainey.
I would bring my other bestie, Michaela. If you were stranded on an island and could only have one teammate with you,
I think I'd bring Meredith because we're related and I feel like
you know.
It would definitely be Catherine because she's very, I feel like she's very, anyways, it would be Catherine.
If I could bring a bonus, I'd bring Emma too because we're also related. Like, I think we'd be like a great trio. There's only one, but I'm gonna bend the rules.
If we were stranded on an island, we would pick each other.
Yep. Stranded on an island. Probably you, honestly.
My dog.
Somebody very entertaining. Probably, honestly. Yeah, we're entertaining, but like also I feel like we need to like get stuff done, you know? Like we would make a tree house or something.
Yeah. We could build like
live off the land.
Yes. Yeah. We could like crack open coconuts.
Right, okay. We got this in the bag.
I would bring Micah because she's tall, she's super funny, and she could like climb up a tree and like grab fruit or like a coconut or something.
I would bring Micah with me because she's a really good bird caller. So I don't know how that's beneficial. So it would be really good because then we could at least see birds and the nature around us.
I would bring Chayla probably because she's like really tall and she looks like she would be a good swimmer. And so she could like
just swim around and probably catch a fish for us or something. And then like, I don't know, since she's really tall, she could probably just pull a whole tree down and start a fire with it. And then we could like cook the fish and eat them. So, yeah. I choose Caitlin.
It's on. Oh, it's on. I don't know who I would take, but I would not take someone that would cry. I couldn't do it if they cried.
I would pick Ava.
We would take each other because we can work well together, and like I feel like we could build good tree houses.
If I was stranded on an island and could only have one teammate with you, who would it be? Probably Brooklyn, my sister, because, my sister.
Hey, thanks again to Shelly Duvall, the head coach of the Great Bend Lady Panther volleyball team, is setting up the walkthrough question with members of her team. Apparently, all the Great Bend Panther volleyball players, they want to make sure they have somebody tall that can get up the tree a little bit easier and knock down some fruit if they're stranded on the island. So thanks to the responses there from the Great Bend Panther volleyball team. Wish them luck this weekend for the Class 5A state volleyball tournament in Salina. We'll take a break and talk more volleyball with Jeremy Deckard, Prep Dig Kansas. He's one of the scouts, and he'll preview some of those state tournaments coming up. Are you looking for a new way to promote your business or organization? Do you want to get your message out to a statewide audience that loves high school sports in both urban and rural areas? Kansas Sports Chatter has advertising opportunities from commercials, sponsoring specific guests, product placements, and even a premier sponsorship. Let Kansas Sports Chatter promote your brand. Contact ksportschatter@gmail.com for more advertising details. That's ksportschatter@gmail.com. Come join the chatter. Welcome back on Kansas Sports Chatter. It is time for volleyball chatter here, and Jeremy Deckard, our volleyball insider with Prep Dig Kansas, joining us now. Hey, Jeremy, I appreciate coming back from your long vacation just in time for the exciting time of the year for volleyball. My first question, do you like the new format with the 3-day format? I know pool play just kind of alternating with some of the classifications, getting 2 at one site, but do you kind of like that, allowing media like yourself to see maybe a few more teams?
I do like it. I think it's going to make a big difference because it's a long day for everybody involved. And when you have kids sometimes not getting out of the stadium at night until after 10 or 11 or even close to midnight, it's too long of a day. Last year I went to Salina with the intention of watching all the 6A and 5A games. And I'm an old man. I got tired and just couldn't hack it. And it's different for me as a scout because, I'm not going – if I had been working for a newspaper and they sent me to cover a specific team, then, I'm pretty much in for the long haul. And if I've got 2 teams locally I got to cover, then, then definitely a long day. But as a scout, I can kind of come and go as I please, and I'm going to do things differently this year anyway. Last year I bounced back between Hutchinson and Salina last year, and this year I'm just going to go camp out at Hutch the first 2 days and then come home early on Saturday. I'm not even going to go to the finals on Saturday this year. I'll get to see all 8 teams that are in the tournament, play in that 2-day span, and it'll be convenient. And then for a deadline wise, I can watch those teams and immediately get a scouting report up right after before, some of the matches are even over. Because for us as a scout, I have my favorites. I have teams that I'm close with and coaches that I'm close with and players that I'm coached with, but I really don't care who wins or loses. And that's not what our coverage is about. Our coverage is about talking about the kids and getting their names out there for the college coaches interested in using them down the road.
Well, you talk about your coverage and also your 2029 rankings. So some names out there.
Yeah. So earlier this morning, we released an updated ranking list for the class of 2029. Now that the season is, primarily over for most of the freshmen, we have some freshmen that are going to be playing in the state tournament, but it was a good chance to go back and look at stats and look at some video and update that list. So we're up to 175 athletes in that class, which I think is the most we've ever had in a class this early in the rankings process. And we added 65 new athletes. So those are going to go, those went live this morning. And I wanted to at least highlight 5 players who are at the top of the list right now, our top 5 Collins Livermore from Kaden, who will be playing in the Class 5A tournament this weekend. She's number 1. She remains there. She was there before. Our number 2 player still is there, Liz Dieter from Jeff West. They just missed making the Class 3A state tournament. Holton beat them to advance in that tournament. Kenna Perrine, a setter from Rossville, will be playing in the state tournament. She's ranked number 3. Jacqueline Elliott's ranked number 5. She's from Blue Valley Northwest. And at number 4 is Elena McGuire, a setter from Shawnee Mission East. So those are our 5 top ones. One of the stories this morning was free, so you can go and read it without having to have a paid subscription. But then also I wanted to plug Prep Dig and Prep Network a little bit. I have a coupon code. It's my last name, Deckard, Deckard 30. If you use that, it'll get you a 30% subscription on 30% discount on new subscriptions on Prep Football, Prep Red Zone, Prep Dig, and Prep Girls Hoops.
I mean, I'm liking the Blue Jays jersey, but volleyball action here. 6A, like who are some of the players that you're looking forward to in Class 6A for the state tournament?
So 6A is pretty stout, and I'm going to have a report on tomorrow previewing the Class 6A and Class 5A tournaments. 24 athletes will be featured in those 2 different reports. And basically, I tried to pick 2 from every team, and then there were a couple teams that didn't have public stats that I ended up just using 1 because I knew I'd seen them play a lot and knew them from their knowledge. So your defending champion, Mill Valley, they've won 3. They've won 3 in a row. They're getting ready to win another one, or at least try to win another one. They have the 2 top-ranked players in Prep Dig right now. Ella Flores, a setter, is the number 1 ranked player in the Class 26. And Riley Riggs is a hitter who's ranked number 1 in the class of 27. Riggs is going to South Carolina, verbally committed, and Flores is going to Iowa State. Washburn Rural, they're always in there. Kevin Bordwick has a very disciplined team. They're not very tall this year, but they've got 2 players, Stella Kelly, a setter, and Carson Horna, who are both going to verbally committed to Baker University. They're a tough out. If you play Washburn Rural, you got your work against you. It's not an easy task. Blue Valley West is the number 2 seed. They'll be playing in Pool B. They're always loaded with talent. A couple of names there. Carly Panderas, who plays for them, is really talented. And then kind of the wild card this year is Wichita Northwest. Brooklyn Benoit, who is committed to Washburn, plays on that team. And then Riley Triplett, who's a freshman, is our rankings. She's in our new rankings today. They're a part of that team. The Northwest is only 1-4 against state teams that qualified, and Mill Valley's 8-2. So that shows you some of the discrepancy sometimes between teams' resumes when they get into state. If I was a betting man, I'm going to say the final is going to be Mill Valley versus Blue Valley West, and I'll say the wild card teams Washburn Rural. You can never discount Washburn Rural.
Yeah, solid teams in Class 6A. I mean, staying in Salina for that state tournament on the opposite day. Class 5A, who are some of the players and teams you're liking?
Okay, so my opinion, the best storyline is the 5A tournament. A team from the West has not won the 5A tournament since 2001, and that was Bishop Carroll. And Bishop Carroll this year's the number 1 seed. And the number 2 seed is May South. And Great Bend is in that tournament, as is Cape Mount Carmel. So this could be a year where the West, maybe they get the win and stop that eastern part of the state dominance. You just never know. But that's the best storyline. And I think it's probably going to be the most entertaining tournament. And they have probably the toughest pool. One pool has St. Thomas Aquinas, St. James Academy, Bishop Carroll, and blanking on the other one, Lansing. If I'm thinking about it right, that's that pool. That pool is loaded, and I can honestly say in the 5A, any of the 8 teams could win it. But you got to look at St. Thomas Aquinas is the 8th seed, but they're the defending champion. They've got Grace Martin, who leads them in kills and is committed to Arizona State. May South has given Bishop Carroll their only loss of the season. They played each other twice, and they're 1-1. But the only loss Bishop Carroll's had all year is that one loss. And I did some deep digging this morning and was looking at Bishop Carroll's roster or schedule, and they were heavy. They were either top heavy against really tough state teams, or they played some teams that wasn't going to test them at all. There's just no middle ground. They had a really tough schedule, and then they had another schedule just really easy. So that'll be interesting to see what they do. They've got Allie Orth, who's a setter who's committed to West Point. She's going to play volleyball for Army. May South has Autumn Pop, a setter who's going to Wichita State, and Sage Elin, a sophomore who's really talented, and she's been rising up our rankings. Great Bend could be a wild card. They got Sedekiah Bear, who's verbally committed to Washburn, and a hitter named Michaela Minton, who's really, really talented. There's not a team there that you can't be scared of. Avery Sands from Lansing is going to Missouri State. Maya Lee might be the most explosive player in the state. And I invite people to come and look at that preview of 6A and 5A really close, and probably two of the most intense scouting reports I've written. I put a lot of work into them.
Hey, Jeremy, if anyone wants to see other classifications, your scouting reports, and obviously you'll be in Hutchinson this week, what do they need to do and where do they go?
All right, just go to prepdig.com. There'll be plenty of coverage. The 4A is going to be tough again. Clay Center, Bishop Miege, Hayden, Andale, a lot of quality teams, a lot of quality players. Ella Foster and Reese Husher, two seniors from Hayden, be chasing their first senior title. 3A stacked. Silver Lake, a couple local teams for you guys. Ellsworth and Hoisington are going to be playing in 3A. They're both loaded. I look forward to seeing some quality matches in Hutchinson. And Hutchinson is a great facility to just hang out in. It's probably the best facility of the bunch. Although I keep hearing a lot of good stuff about Dodge City too. I haven't been in Dodge City. And of course, at Dodge City, the only remaining undefeated team in the state is Ellenwood. Again, another local team out by where you're from. They're undefeated, and they could really get a test from Hillsboro. Hillsboro's always a solid program. And then you got Little River and Hanover. Both are trying to defend their state titles, and Hanover's a 5 seed. So with the way the KSHSAA seeds people, it's in the discrepancy between schedules, it's hard for a Western Kansas team to get a really tough schedule. And I know Ellenwood, Greg Maxwell's gone out of his way this year to toughen his schedule. And Great Bend, Shelley Duvall, she wanted to toughen her schedule. And then there are some schedules like Bishop Miege. Bishop Miege is the defending champion. They have a 9-26 record. But they played a ton of 6A and 5A schools that are in the state tournament, and they played 8 games in Missouri. And you just never know. All they got to do is turn it on for 3 matches in the first day, and then turn it on for 2 more the second one, and you could be a state champion no matter what you're seeding.
Hey, Deck, appreciate your time. Have fun in Hutchinson.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for having me on again. Love what you're doing. Keep it up. And after this, it'll be club volleyball season and doing some scouting for Prep Girls Hoops.
All right, well, we'll send the new contract out there for your agent to sign up for the winter season, okay?
You got it.
All right, we'll keep the pay the same. Jeremy Deckard with us with Prep Dig Kansas for Volleyball Chatter.
Whether it's a Friday night football game or a Saturday Scholars Bowl tournament, there are many people behind the scenes to make these activities function. The Kansas State High School Activities Association and the Student Advisory Team would like to thank all those who make these events happen for our students. Without school administrators, event workers, custodians, officials, transportation personnel, and office staff, these events would not be possible. Your hard work and dedication allow students throughout the state to participate in the activities that they love.
It is our next level of talents on Kansas Sports Chatter, our opportunity to talk to a former Kansas high school athletes and now are competing at a college or university in the state of Kansas. Today's guest is going to be Kaden Fields. He's with Emporia State University football team and out of Osawatomie High School. Kaden, appreciate you coming on the show. For you, now your redshirt junior season, but go back to the beginning. What got you interested in football? What was so exciting about football that got you hooked?
So the first time that I ever saw football, I was at my grandma's house, and it was probably Thanksgiving time probably, and I was only 4 or 5 the first time I remember seeing it, but the first time I ever saw football on the television, I was already hooked. But I never got to play like tackle football as a kid. I always thought that flag football was kind of lame, so I didn't really play flag football. But as soon as middle school came out, I started playing and practicing pretty much every day since then.
So what was that learning curve like? Do you even remember at that young age, like when you first finally got started in middle school?
It was definitely a cool and surreal experience to play football. I thought I did pretty well back in. Our middle school team was pretty good, so that was cool to be a part of. But yeah, I felt like I stepped up to the plate right away and just picked it up pretty easy.
What was it like growing in Osawatomie and just kind of being a part of the athletic programs there at the high school?
Osawatomie growing up, it's a small farm town, there's not a whole lot to do, but you know everybody, so you're always just hanging out with everybody doing dumb country things probably, but Osawatomie is cool. And then just being a small town, and everyone that you play with from one sport goes to a different sport, and everyone's playing the same stuff together, so it's just cool to be around the same guys doing everything. So
what was your recruiting process like, and why did you eventually choose Emporia State?
So going through middle school, my older brother was getting picked up by a couple of smaller schools in Kansas. And I always thought that I'd be good enough to play college football. So really, I was mainly just worried about making plays and putting out good highlights. And we went to a bunch of different camps throughout the country. And the main reason I came to Emporia was just because a lot of the schools offered me offense, but I always wanted to play defense. I thought I was more aggressive, wanted to make more plays. So I didn't want to just be some big old boy playing right tackle. So I chose Emporia for defense.
So for you, being on that defensive side of the ball, like what excites you about the defensive side?
I think it's the physical aspect, the aggressive aspect to it. I think because it's not just blocking and that's all you got to do. You got to get off a block and then make a tackle. I think it's a little bit more difficult. I definitely think that the more athletic people play on defense, I think it just sets a higher standard for me to play defense. So
that first year going through that red shirt, what did you learn that red shirt season when you first arrived in Emporia?
That was actually a very mind-opening experience. I definitely thought, because everyone says it when you first get here, it's like, oh, you're the top dog at your school, you're the best in high school, and now you're here. And that was true for me. When I first got here, I thought I was going to be just as good as everybody else. And I don't even know how many times I ended up on my butt. But, just learning the game from a different view, learning to pick things up faster because everything's faster, everything's bigger, stronger. So
do you remember any specific moments, whether it was that redshirt year or even, your first year after that, or it was kind of like a welcome to college football moment? Like, did you have anything that stood out to you?
So the first time that I really got into the game, I was a third string nose guard, and it would have been, I think, 23 when I first got in. It was against Northeastern, the Riverhawks, and I think it was like the beginning of the fourth quarter. We were up pretty big, so they were putting in the second, third string guys. And like the second play that I was playing, it was a pass play, and I swiped off the center. I started working towards the guard. That didn't work, so I went back towards the center, and I got hit from the side, landed on my back, and then the guard took his knee or his elbow and just, a little WWE moved right on top of me. So that was definitely my welcome to college football moment.
Got the people's elbow. Like you look at some of the success that Emporia State has had here over the last couple of years. Like how much fun has it been just being right in the thick of that program?
It's definitely been really, really cool, especially because for me, personally, it's just we didn't win a whole lot of Osawatomie, so that was always like disappointing to me because I always love to win. I want to win all the time, and just being in this environment and being around these players and these guys and just seeing how different it is to win and what it takes to win and being around that is really cool to see. So.
You mentioned your brother earlier. Anything that you took from him, any advice that you learned from him growing up?
He wasn't always like the biggest guy. He was definitely one of the bigger ones in our school, but he wasn't like he wasn't the strongest. He wasn't the fastest, but one thing that he always did was he always worked really hard. He was always the one running across the field to make a tackle. He was always the one putting in the effort when he needed to. So that's one thing that I kind of picked up, and I didn't hear it. I got told this by a guy a couple of years ago here in the locker room. And he said, there's people that would be freaky strong and freaky tough and freaky athletic. But one thing you can always do is be freaky with the effort. You can always try the hardest. You can always work the hardest. So that's one thing that I try to do and all the time. So,
hey, Kaden, I appreciate your time. Best of luck the rest of the season.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
That is Kaden Fields, a member of the Emporia State University football team and at Osawatomie High School, part of our Next Level Talents. Are you a person that's always on the go? You can still easily keep up with Kansas Sports Chatter with the audio podcast. Hear each episode on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Make sure to follow the Kansas Sports Chatter podcast. It is a spooky yet very exciting time of the year. Really excited to see the results of the volleyball state tournament this weekend. Of course, cross country is getting revved up for their states, and then you got soccer the following week. High school football playoffs will be strolling through the next few weeks, so a lot of great stuff lined up. But we'll have some state champion coaches, some players lined up in the next few weeks here on Kansas Sports Chatter. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube, and also you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. If you're a business owner, you want to advertise on Kansas Sports Chatter, get your name out to a statewide audience, you can hit us up. You can find our contact information on social media or ksportschatter@gmail.com. Rounding things out for the show today, Pat Strathman with ESPN Wichita calls a lot of different games on a lot of different levels, but he's called a number of high school games and a good voice here in the state of Kansas. Enjoy the sounds of Pat Strathman to close out today's show.
Baker looking to throw. He's got space to the right, and he uses his legs to get the corner, and he high steps into the end zone. Cavante Baker using those legs again to find pay dirt. This one's good for 21 yards and 6 points as the Falcons go 3 for 3 on drives on the offense.